This has been going on an hour. Multiple pat-downs, invasive searches, racial comments about my hoodie. And enough about my job. I see what this is. All of this is captured on camera. You can't treat me like trash.
I don't give a damn!
This has been going on for an hour. Multiple pat-downs, invasive searches, racial comments about my hoodie, about my job. I see what this is. All of this is captured on camera. You can't treat me like trash. I don't give a damn. Those 4 words would cost the government $4 million. Those 4 words would end a 19-year career. And those 4 words would prove that sometimes the camera really does see everything. This is the true story of Marcus Chen, a father, a software engineer, and a man who refused to be invisible. Before we go any further, I want to ask you something. Where are you watching this from right now? If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button. Stories like this, they need to be told. They need to be heard. And your support helps us keep bringing them to light. Now, let me take you back to a Tuesday morning that started like any other, but ended unlike anything Marcus could have imagined. 6:47 in the morning. Chicago O'Hare International Airport. Marcus Chen was tired, the kind of tired that settles into your bones after 3 days of back-to-back meetings, bad conference coffee, and hotel pillows that never feel quite right. He'd been in Denver for work, one of those tech conferences where everyone talks about innovation and disruption while standing in long lines for mediocre lunch buffets. But now he just wanted to go home. Home to Seattle, home to his wife Jennifer, home to his 2 little girls, Lily and Sophie, who were probably already awake, probably already asking Mom when Daddy would be back. Marcus was 34 years old. He'd flown dozens of times, maybe hundreds. He knew the routine like he knew his own phone password. Arrive early, liquids in a clear bag, laptop out, shoes off, walk through the detector, grab your stuff, go to your gate. Simple. He wore a gray hoodie that morning. Nothing fancy, just a comfortable Stanford hoodie he'd had since college, worn soft from years of wear. Jeans, sneakers, his laptop bag over one shoulder, his small carry-on rolling behind him. He looked like 10,000 other travelers that morning. Tired, ready to be home. Ordinary. The security line moved at its usual crawl. Marcus didn't mind. He had time. His flight didn't leave for another hour and a half. He scrolled through his phone, checked his email, sent a quick text to Jennifer. In line. Should be home by dinner. Love you. 3 dots appeared. Then, the girls can't wait. Fly safe. Love you more. He smiled at that. Love you more. Their thing. Marcus placed his laptop bag on the conveyor belt, watched it disappear into the X-ray machine, put his phone, wallet, and keys in the bin, took off his shoes, walked through the metal detector. No beep. No alarm, nothing. He started to move toward his belongings, already thinking about finding coffee before his gate, when he heard it. Sir, I need you to step aside. Marcus turned. A TSA officer was pointing at him. Older guy. Military haircut, face like stone. Me? Marcus asked. Yes. Step over here, please. Additional screening. Marcus's stomach did that little flip it always does when authority singles you out, even when you've done nothing wrong. But he nodded. This happens sometimes. Random selections, security protocols. He understood. He grabbed his belongings from the end of the belt and followed the officer to a designated screening area off to the side. Other travelers glanced over as they passed, their faces showing that mix of curiosity and relief. Glad it's not me, those faces said. The officer's name tag read, K. Donnelly. Kirk Donnelly didn't smile, didn't greet Marcus, didn't explain what would happen next. He just immediately put his hands on Marcus and started the pat-down. And right from the start, it felt wrong. The hands pressed too hard, moved too roughly. This wasn't the professional, almost apologetic pat-down Marcus had experienced before. This was aggressive, deliberate. Marcus stood there, arms out, feeling every eye that glanced his direction, feeling the heat creep up his neck, feeling small. The pat-down finished. Marcus started to lower his arms. Empty your pockets again, Kirk said. I already did, Marcus replied, confused. Everything's in the bin. Do it again. Marcus reached into his pockets, pulled them inside out to show they were empty. Kirk took the bin with Marcus's belongings and went through each item like he was searching for something specific. The wallet, the keys, the stick of gum, the phone, nothing, because there was nothing to find. "The bag," Kirk said, grabbing Marcus's laptop bag. "It already went through the X-ray," Marcus said quietly. Kirk didn't respond. He unzipped every pocket, every single pocket, pulled everything out, the laptop, the charger, the notebooks, the pens, a granola bar, a small pack of tissues. He shook the notebooks, examined the charger like it was something suspicious, squeezed every corner of the bag, checking for hidden compartments. Other travelers walked past. Some looked, some deliberately didn't look. 15 minutes had passed. Marcus checked the time on his phone. His boarding would start in 45 minutes. He'd be fine. This was almost over. Except it wasn't. Kirk called over another officer, whispered something. That officer looked at Marcus, then back at Kirk, and walked away without saying a word. That moment right there, that should have told Kirk something. Even his colleague wanted no part of this. But Kirk didn't stop. "I need to do another pat-down," he said. "More thorough this time." "Why?" Marcus asked. The word came out smaller than he intended. You already searched me." Kirk didn't answer. He just started again. This time, the hands pressed even harder. Against Marcus's legs, his torso, his arms, hard enough that Marcus actually winced. This wasn't procedure anymore. This was something else. 30 minutes in, and Marcus's entire carry-on suitcase was spread across the screening table. His clothes, his shoes, his toiletry bag unzipped, every item pulled out and examined. Kirk squeezed the toothpaste tube, opened the deodorant, held up a small bottle of cologne to the light like he was a scientist studying something dangerous. People walked past. So many people. And they could all see Marcus's personal belongings scattered like evidence at a crime scene. Marcus heard the announcement for his flight. Final boarding call for Seattle. "How much longer is this going to take?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Kirk looked at him, really looked at him for the first time. "You can cooperate or you can be detained. Your choice." It wasn't a choice. Not really. So Marcus stayed quiet. And that's when the comments started. Small at first. Almost casual. "Nice hoodie," Kirk said, but the way he said it made it sound like an accusation. "Where'd you get the money for that laptop?" Marcus blinked. I'm a software engineer. I use it for work." "Uh-huh?" Kirk didn't sound convinced. "You seem nervous." "I'm not nervous," Marcus said, but he was becoming nervous now. Not because he'd done anything wrong, but because he was beginning to understand what was actually happening here. This wasn't random. This was targeted. Kirk made Marcus take off his shoes again, examined them inside and out, bending the soles, peering inside with a flashlight. Nothing. "Lift your shirt," Kirk said suddenly. Marcus's blood went cold. "What?" "Your shirt. Lift it. I need to see your waistband." Marcus looked around. They were in the middle of the security area. Travelers everywhere. "I don't have anything." "Lift your shirt." So Marcus did. Standing there in Chicago O'Hare International Airport with hundreds of strangers walking past, Marcus lifted his gray hoodie and his t-shirt underneath, exposing his stomach, his waistband, his dignity peeling away like old paint. Kirk looked, saw nothing, and still seemed unsatisfied. 45 minutes had passed. Marcus had missed his flight. He could hear announcements for other gates, other cities, other people getting to go home. And then Kirk said it. Said the thing that made everything crystal clear. "People like you always think you're above the rules." Marcus felt something twist in his chest. "People like me?" "Travelers from certain neighborhoods," Kirk continued, as if he hadn't just revealed everything. "They always cause problems. And this whole software engineer story..." He looked Marcus up and down. "Why would someone dressed like that be a software engineer? Where's your suit? Why the hoodie?" There it was, right out in the open. Marcus's hands started shaking, not from fear, from anger, from the crushing, suffocating realization that this was happening because of the color of his skin, because Kirk looked at him and saw a threat instead of a father trying to get home to his daughters. This wasn't about security. This was about racism. This was about a man in uniform who had power and prejudice, and no one to stop him. "I want to speak to a supervisor," Marcus said quietly. "We're not done here," Kirk replied. "I need to conduct a more intensive search. Private screening room, follow me." And that's when Marcus made the decision that would change everything. He reached for his phone. "Put that down," Kirk said immediately, stepping forward. "I have the right to record this," Marcus said. His voice was shaking now, but steady enough. "No, you don't. Put the phone down." But Marcus knew his rights. He'd looked them up once after a friend told him about being searched excessively. Federal regulations allow passengers to record TSA screenings as long as they don't interfere with the process or film the security monitors. Marcus held up his phone. Pressed record. The camera captured Kirk's face, twisted with irritation and something else. Something ugly. "My name is Marcus Chen," Marcus said into the camera, his voice barely above a whisper but clear. "I've been here for 45 minutes. I've been pat down twice. My bags have been searched multiple times. This officer has made comments about my clothing, my job, and my race." Kirk's jaw clenched. Marcus continued, the words coming faster now. "I've done nothing wrong. I'm being treated like a criminal because of how I look. And it's all on camera now. All of it." He looked directly at Kirk. "I see what this is. All of this is captured on camera. You can't treat me like trash." The words hung in the air between them. "And Kirk?" Kirk looked right into that camera and said the 4 words that would define everything that came next. "I don't give a damn." Those 4 words. I don't give a damn. They echoed in Marcus's ears like a bell that couldn't be unrung. Kirk called for backup. 2 more TSA officers arrived, then a supervisor. The situation was escalating, and Marcus just kept recording, kept narrating everything for the camera. "I'm asking to continue this in public view," Marcus said clearly. "I will not go to a private room. I have the right to be searched here, where my rights can be witnessed." The supervisor, a shorter man with glasses and a nervous energy, asked Marcus to put the phone away. "I'm exercising my right to record," Marcus replied politely. "I'm not interfering with your process. I'm documenting what's happening to me." The supervisor looked uncomfortable. You could see it in his face. He knew this had gone too far. He could feel the weight of the mistake happening right in front of him. But he didn't correct it. Instead, he backed up Kirk. "If you don't comply with additional screening," the supervisor said, "you won't be allowed to fly. You'll be escorted out." "I've been complying for an hour," Marcus said, and now there was edge in his voice, the anger finally breaking through. "What are you looking for? Just tell me. What am I supposed to have done?" No one answered. Kirk, emboldened by his supervisor's support, made another comment. "People who act like you always play the victim card. If you had nothing to hide, you wouldn't make such a big deal about a simple search. That camera's just proof you were looking for trouble." All of it, every word, captured on Marcus's phone. Marcus asked a direct question then, his voice cutting through the noise of the busy terminal. "Have I done anything wrong? Has any of your searching found anything suspicious?" Silence. "Am I being treated this way because I'm Asian American?" Kirk actually laughed. The sound was cold, dismissive. "You're being treated this way because you fit a profile," he said. "What profile?" "Someone who seems suspicious." "What makes me suspicious?" "Your attitude." Marcus had been nothing but compliant, respectful. Even when Kirk started making racial comments, Marcus hadn't raised his voice, hadn't become aggressive, he'd simply started recording. And that's when something beautiful happened. Another officer, a woman who'd been watching from a distance, finally stepped in. She walked over to the supervisor and spoke quietly. Whatever she said made his face change, made him realize, maybe for the first time, that this wasn't just going to go away. "Officer Donnelly, step back," the supervisor said. "I'm conducting a legitimate screening," Kirk protested. "Step back." Kirk finally moved away, but not before one last comment. "You'll probably cry racism and get a lawyer." He was right about that. The female officer conducted a final, brief screening of Marcus's belongings. Professional, respectful. It took less than 3 minutes. She found nothing, because there was nothing to find. "I apologize for the delay," she said quietly, and Marcus could hear that she meant it. "You're clear to proceed." Marcus had missed his flight. The next one wasn't for 4 hours. He sat in the terminal, his hands still shaking, and watched the video he'd recorded. 12 minutes. 12 minutes of footage that showed everything. Kirk's behavior, his comments, his dismissive attitude. His chilling admission. "I don't give a damn." Marcus didn't post it immediately. First, he went home. He showed the video to Jennifer and she cried. Actually cried, her hand over her mouth, tears streaming down her face as she watched her husband be humiliated. "Oh my God, Marcus," she whispered. "Oh my God." They kept it from Lily and Sophie. The girls didn't need to see their father like that. Then Marcus contacted a civil rights attorney named David Fisher. Fisher watched the video 3 times. He'd been handling discrimination cases for over 20 years. He'd seen evidence of racial profiling before, but rarely was it this clear, this documented, this undeniable. Kirk had given them everything they needed, on camera, in his own words. "File complaints everywhere," Fisher advised. TSA, Department of Homeland Security, local civil rights organizations, document everything. And then, we fight. 1 week after the incident, Fisher posted the video online with Marcus's permission. It exploded. 1 million views in 24 hours, 5 million in 48 hours. By the end of the week, 47 million views across every platform. News outlets picked it up, CNN, NBC, ABC. Everyone wanted to interview Marcus. Everyone wanted to know what happened next. The TSA released a statement, generic, corporate, meaningless. "We take all allegations of misconduct seriously and are investigating this incident thoroughly." But the public wasn't satisfied with words. Hashtags started trending, protests organized at the airport, civil rights groups demanded Kirk's termination, and then other passengers started coming forward. A college professor described how Kirk broke her laptop during an aggressive search 2 years earlier. A young man told how Kirk made him miss his flight to his mother's funeral. A businessman shared racial comments Kirk had made during a pat-down. The stories piled up like evidence at trial. This wasn't an isolated incident. This was a pattern. 17 formal complaints over 19 years. 17 times someone had said, "This officer is a problem." And 17 times the TSA had essentially shrugged and done nothing. Fisher filed the lawsuit 3 weeks after the incident, $7.5 million. Some people thought that was too much. Those people hadn't stood in an airport with their shirt lifted while strangers walked past. They hadn't been told their existence was suspicious. They hadn't been stripped of their dignity by someone who swore an oath to protect and serve. The government's initial response was predictable. Deny everything, claim qualified immunity, argue that Kirk was just doing his job. But the video made those arguments hollow, because the video showed the truth. The legal battle took 14 months. 14 months of depositions and motions and negotiations. 14 months of Marcus reliving that morning every time a lawyer asked him to describe what happened. 14 months of the video being watched and analyzed and commented on by millions of strangers. The internal records Fisher demanded revealed everything. Kirk's history of complaints, his previous suspension for racial comments 8 years earlier, 3 days off, then back to work like nothing happened. The TSA had known. They'd always known, and they'd done nothing. 6 months into the lawsuit, the government started trying to settle. Fisher said no. Marcus wanted his day in court. He wanted the full story told in public. But the toll was heavy. Marcus lost weight, couldn't sleep. Every time he saw an airport on TV, his chest would tighten. Jennifer worried. The girls noticed Daddy seemed sad. Fisher presented the options honestly. "We can go to trial. We might win big. We might lose everything. Juries are unpredictable." Or, "We can negotiate, but only if the terms include more than money." More than money. That became the key. Fisher demanded Kirk be fired, demanded new training on racial bias, demanded a public apology, and yes, demanded substantial financial compensation. 3 months of negotiations later, they reached an agreement. Kirk Donnelly was terminated from the TSA. No possibility of rehire in any federal security position. His pension reduced, $4.2 million to Marcus. Mandatory racial bias training implemented. The supervisor who failed to intervene was demoted. And a public statement acknowledging that Marcus's civil rights had been violated. Perhaps most importantly, the settlement wasn't confidential. Marcus could talk about it. Fisher could talk about it. The video stayed public. The story stayed in the light. When the settlement was finalized, Marcus didn't celebrate. He felt relieved, yes, but not victorious. The money didn't erase what happened, didn't give back the sense of security he used to feel, didn't remove the memory of that morning. But it did validate his experience. It confirmed that what happened was wrong, was illegal, was serious enough to cost the government millions. It sent a message. Actions have consequences. Kirk tried to appeal, claimed he was a scapegoat, that he'd just been doing his job. The appeal was denied. He gave one interview to a podcast playing the victim, claiming Marcus had been looking for confrontation. The internet tore him apart for it. Kirk disappeared from public view after that. The video is still online, still being watched. It's used in training sessions about civil rights now, shown in law school classes, referenced in articles about racial profiling. Marcus's 12 minutes of footage became a permanent record of how racism exists in the most ordinary places, carried out by people in uniform who think their authority makes them untouchable. Marcus flies again now, though he admits it's never comfortable. He arrives extra early, keeps his phone accessible, always aware of who's watching him and why. The incident changed him. The money can't fix that. But he doesn't regret recording, doesn't regret fighting, doesn't regret standing up when Kirk said he didn't give a damn. Because Marcus did give a damn. He gave a damn about his rights, his dignity, and the rights of every other traveler who might encounter someone like Kirk. He used the settlement money to pay off his house, started college funds for Lily and Sophie, donated a significant portion to civil rights organizations, and took his family on a vacation, which ironically required going through airport security again. That was the most stressful part of the trip, he told Fisher later, and they both laughed, the kind of laugh that holds pain in it. But perhaps the most important thing the settlement provided was acknowledgement. For every person who has been pulled aside, searched excessively, questioned unnecessarily, or treated differently because of their skin color, Marcus's case proved something vital. These experiences are real, they are wrong, and they are actionable. The TSA's implementation of new training has been inconsistent. Racial profiling didn't end because of Marcus's case. The system still has problems. But Marcus's case made those problems harder to ignore. It made officers think twice before making racial comments. It made supervisors more likely to intervene. It made travelers aware that they have rights, and those rights matter. When Marcus speaks at civil rights events now, which he does occasionally, he tells people the same thing every time. Know your rights. Use your phone. You have the right to record TSA screenings. You have the right to ask why you're being searched. You have the right to request a supervisor. You have the right to be treated with dignity, regardless of your race. He pauses then, and his voice gets quieter. Those rights only matter if you exercise them. Kirk's termination sent ripples through TSA facilities nationwide. Officers who had been comfortable making inappropriate comments suddenly realized they could face real consequences. The culture began to shift, slowly, imperfectly, but it shifted. Marcus has been asked many times if he thinks Kirk was just one bad apple or if the problem is systemic. His answer never changes. Kirk was responsible for his own actions. But the system that allowed him to behave that way for 19 years, that kept him employed despite 17 complaints, that's also responsible. That's not a bad apple problem. That's a bad orchard problem. 5 years have passed now. The video still gets shared whenever discussions about airport security or racial profiling trend online. New generations discover it and express shock at what it shows. Marcus has made peace with being known as the TSA discrimination guy. If his experience helps even one person stand up for their rights, he considers it worthwhile. The $4.2 million settlement was one of the largest ever paid in a TSA discrimination case. It set a precedent that federal agencies can be held accountable even when their employees claim to be conducting security screenings. That precedent has been cited in other cases since. Progress, slow, and hard-won. Marcus occasionally talks about the psychological impact, the part that doesn't show up in legal filings, how discrimination doesn't end when the incident ends, how it changes the way you move through the world, how airport security, something millions do without a second thought, became a source of genuine anxiety for him, how going home became complicated. The lawsuit represented more than justice for one man. It represented a crack in the armor of qualified immunity. It showed that even powerful federal agencies can be held accountable when their employees violate civil rights clearly and egregiously. It also showed the power of technology, of documentation, of refusing to let injustice hide in the shadows. Marcus's phone, held up with shaking hands that Tuesday morning, became a witness that couldn't be dismissed or intimidated. The story of what happened at that airport is ultimately about dignity, about one man who refused to accept being treated as less than human, about the decision to fight back, not with violence, but with documentation and legal action, about the principle that rights only exist if they're enforced. Kirk told Marcus he didn't give a damn, but the courts did, the public did. And eventually, through pressure and litigation and public outcry, even the TSA did. Not enough to prevent it from happening in the first place, but enough to provide consequences after the fact. That's not perfect justice. But in an imperfect system, it's something. And sometimes, something is how we get to everything. Marcus is home now, with Jennifer. With Lily and Sophie, who are older now, who will one day learn what happened to their father and understand why he fought. He's home. And he got there because when someone told him his dignity didn't matter, he picked up his phone and proved them wrong. 4 words cost the government $4 million. 4 words ended a 19-year career. 4 words became evidence that changed everything. I don't give a damn. But we should give a damn. We should all give a damn. Because the next time someone's rights are violated, the next time someone is treated as less than human, the next time authority meets prejudice in a busy airport terminal, the person standing there with their arms out, feeling small, feeling targeted, feeling alone, that person could be you, or someone you love. And when that moment comes, I hope you remember Marcus Chen. I hope you remember that you have rights. I hope you remember that your phone is a witness. And I hope you remember that fighting back doesn't make you difficult. It makes you free. If this story moved you, please hit that like button and share it. Stories like Marcus's need to be told. They need to be remembered. Because those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. And we've repeated this one long enough. Thank you for watching. And remember, you matter. Your dignity matters. And you should never, ever let anyone tell you otherwise. If this story moved you, hit that like button right now. Subscribe if you haven't already. And share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment below telling me, have you or someone you know ever experienced discrimination like this? What would you have done in Marcus's situation? Your stories matter. Your voice matters. And together, we make sure stories like this don't stay buried. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.